Here's what your Mario Kart World name says about you. If you play Mario, you're really cool. If you play Luigi, you're really cool. If you play Koopa, you gave Nintendo a lot of money for a game that is just okay, and now you feel the need to talk about it on the internet to justify that hollow, empty feeling you feel inside. Damn it. Not again. Who doesn't love Mario Kart? Okay, so a lot of people, as it turns out. Released in 2025 as a launch title for the Switch 2, Mario Kart World wasn't quite the slam dunk we all expected, but why is that? Are we too harsh on it? Are we wanting it to be something it's not? There are legitimate issues with the game, sure, but I've been getting back into it recently after some pretty lengthy time away with the experience of other, more recent racing games under my belt, and I'm in two minds about the whole thing. There are legitimate issues, but there's also a lot of potential underneath the surface. So, you and me, come here, you and me, we're gonna have a little talk about Mario Kart World. But first, you know the drill, quick bit of background. Mario Kart World was the first new entry in the series in over a decade, technically. Mario Kart 8, the previous game in the series, Mario Kart Tour doesn't count, released in 2014 on the Wii U, with a deluxe version dropping on the Nintendo Switch in 2017. From then to June 2025 is a cool 11 years. For context, the second longest gap in the series was around 4 or 5 years depending on where you are in the world between Mario Kart 64 and Super Circuit. Mario Kart 8 is also, just casually, one of the best-selling games ever. The deluxe entry on the Switch, including the Booster Course Pass DLC, is my personal favorite entry in the series by far, and I know I'm not alone. I've loved Mario Kart 8 since before it was even released, as I managed to play it at a Comic-Con before it came out way back when in 2014. In my opinion, 8 perfected the quote-unquote classic 3-lap Mario Kart formula, and when the Switch 2 was announced alongside footage of a new game in the series, I think everyone was expecting something in the vein of an iteration on it, or a more direct follow-up, as that's traditionally what Mario Kart had been for a while, going back to the DS and Wii. That's what it makes sense, right? But, what if it was open world? And what if we made it 24 players? And just, hypothetically, what if we forced everyone to drive in straight lines? If you don't know much about Mario Kart World, you would expect it to be just another Mario Kart game. End of story. But it goes deeper than that. Kinda. The first glimpse we got of this entry in the series was the Switch 2's reveal, which had everyone clamoring to work out what was going on. I remember people were focused on the designs of the karts with these big circles, making people think that fuel types were gonna be a gimmick, if I remember right. And also, perhaps bigger, Donkey Kong looked a little different. At the time, we all thought that he was being redesigned to match his appearance in the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and people were not happy. Myself included. Man, I can't wait for the Nintendo Switch 2. What did they do to Donkey Kong? I've since come around on the new design, much like most other people, partially because A, I was overreacting, and B, there's this little thing I like to call Donkey Kong Bonanza. Other people like to call it that too, I think. But I'm getting off topic. The next time we saw anything to do with the game was the opening of the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct in April of 2025, where we learned it was going to be a launch title for the console. The presentation opened on a new trailer showing off the game. It all looked promising. Fast-paced races, expressive animations, that new Donkey Kong, but then these large aerial shots of racers driving along huge open straights, which I'm sure is nothing to be worried about, right? We got a glimpse of some new rail grinding and wall riding mechanics, some new and returning items, Birdo turned into a truck, and alternate costumes. It all looked extremely promising. The most promising of all was the point of being able to go off the racetrack and drive virtually everywhere in the game. The game was open world, and that had me all excited. See, one of my favorite actual racing games, quote unquote, which basically means using real cars and not karts, was Forza Horizon 4, released in 2018 for the Xbox One and PC. The Forza Horizon series features vast open worlds inspired by real-world countries and a loose, story tying it all together involving a big car festival that travels the globe. When Mario Kart World was announced to have such a vast, interconnected world, my mind was, no pun intended, racing at the thought that if Nintendo played their cards right and used the open world to their advantage with a system similar to Forza Horizon, mixing that with the perfected gameplay of Mario Kart 8, we could be in store for a once-in-a-generation racing game, which, on the 5th of June, 2025, Mario Kart World released alongside the Nintendo Switch 2 to pretty decent critical review, honestly. But the real test, of course, is how well the game holds up in the grubby little hands of the true Nintendo fans. White guys with brown hair and glasses who talk about video games on the internet. Because we all need more of that, right?
Mario Kart World!
Oh boy, I gotta watch myself here. So, I don't love Mario Kart World, but I don't hate it either. Come on! The first time you boot up Mario Kart World, you get this cute little title screen. Now, a couple of years prior to this game, Mario's voice actor changed from Charles Martinet to Kevin Afghani. I want to preface this by saying I don't hate Afghani's Mario voice. In fact, I came around to it really quickly and think he does a pretty decent job in the games I've heard him in, but this one particular line delivery feels off. Look, compare it here.
Mario Kart 8! Mario Kart World!
Voice actors aside, the energy is different, and it might be weird and nitpicky, but the new one is just okay, and in a nutshell, it sets the bar at a kind of medium. Not a high bar, not a low bar, a medium bar. A just okay bar. And Mario Kart World, overall, is just okay. But to the game's credit, the title screen does a great job of showcasing the open road, with Mario coming down the freeway and driving himself into Mario Brothers Circuit, and that harmonica really helps to sell the whole road trip vibe. The music in general is a great, huge, massive thing that this game has going for it, and outside of that one voice line, we're off to a decent start. That line only plays the first time you boot the game up too, so it's probably something most people would just go, that's weird, and move on with their day. We've got a fair few options here. The usual, single player, multiplayer, online, and wireless. We'll touch on online in a bit, but before that, let's talk about the single player offerings. I guess this also applies to multiplayer, but I'm lacking a little thing I like to call people I know in real life that have time to play Mario Kart World with me for a YouTube video. There are a few core game modes I'm going to touch on here. Grand Prix, Knockout Tour, and Versus Race. Not necessarily in that order. Just quickly, time trials and battles are options that you also have, but they never really hooked me, so, battles are fine, but they feel like a step back from previous entries. Grand Prix and Knockout Tour are presented like your two big ticket items here, with their buttons being larger than the rest of them. We'll get to them soon. All of these modes have one central mechanic at the heart of them. A series staple, because it would be weird if it wasn't. So, ladies, gentlemen, theys and thems, let's talk about the driving. The core driving and gameplay of Mario Kart World is in a league of its own. Oh my god, this feels good. Driving, braking, steering, drifting, it all feels really, really fluid. Hold on to that word, fluid. We'll keep coming back to it. It looks and sounds gorgeous. Animations and character models are full of personality, and it's like Nintendo took what worked in 8, sprinkled a little bit of pizzazz on there, and went voila. The revamped trick system is also a welcome addition. When you shoot off from a ramp or a ledge, or honestly anything that has you in the air for 1 picosecond, you can hit the ZR button or shake the controller to do a trick. Yeah, we've been doing that for forever. But what if I told you you could trick in the air again?
What?
Yeah, pressing the ZR button again lets you do a second trick, a third, a fourth, so on and so forth, but it doesn't increase the amount of mini turbo you get upon landing. So, dear viewer, you might be wondering, what's the point? Well, if you do this little thing I like to call tilting the analog stick, you can effectively steer your vehicle more in the air. It's not drastic, but it'll nudge you either left or right if you trick either of those ways, and that could be the difference between landing on a rail or falling flat on the grass. Speaking of rails, yeah, they took a page from Sonic's book and let you grind on rails, on fences, on power lines, pretty much anything, to be honest. You move forward and can chain tricks together on a rail, letting you get off boost after boost after boost. It's pretty neat. You can also wall ride, which I originally thought was going to be like the anti-gravity mechanics of 8, but it's actually quite different, feeling more like a wall jump from 3D Mario that's been adapted to kart racing. As weird as it sounds, this whole thing feels like they took the fluidity and feeling of movement from a 3D Mario like Odyssey and adapted it into Mario Kart. The revamped driving and trick systems took a little bit of time to get used to, especially coming off of Mario Kart 8, but once it clicked, it became a lot of fun when used sparingly. I'm not a huge fan of over-reliance on it and optimizing your gameplay to basically be in the air or on a grind rail 24/7, but I can respect the people that play that way. So, we've got this great fluid driving system with incredibly robust parkour mechanics and tight turning. It feels right at home in Mario Kart with its amazing, intricately designed tracks full of twists, turns, and what do you mean? Straight lines. Let's not beat around the bush. One of the biggest complaints with Mario Kart World is, by and large, one of the biggest selling points with the game, so that's cool. In the game, you have the tracks, there's like 30 of them, but due to the open nature of the world, there are hundreds of little routes connecting each of those tracks, and Nintendo thought that was really, really cool. And the player base, not so much. It's complicated. Let me explain. I feel like the easiest way to talk about the routes, or intermissions as they're sometimes known by the community, is to also talk about the Grand Prix. This is something that was shown off in pre-release footage, but seeing pre-release stuff versus actually experiencing it are two different things. So, a Grand Prix starts out exactly as you'd expect. The first course in the cup, we'll say Mario Bros. Circuit in the Mushroom Cup, for example, is a standard 3-lap race around the track. Good, right? The first lap acquaints you with the course, the second lap, maybe you spot a couple shortcuts to try, and the third lap, you go all out. That's how it's been for forever. Yes, I know there's segmented tracks in other games, but largely, that is the Mario Kart gameplay loop in a nutshell. So, you'd expect the next course in the cup to be similar. Yeah? Well, buddy, do I have news for you. These roads on the Cup Select screen aren't just for show, they are representative of the routes that you will take between these courses. So, Race 2 of the Mushroom Cup has you start at Mario Bros. Circuit, drive along the highway, get to Crown City, go round it once, and that's it. It's over before it even begins. You don't even get that cool sped up final lap version of a track's music because you just got there. The routes too feel really bland and uninspiring. There are a few exceptions, of course, but it feels like 90% of them are just drives along the highway. Nintendo, buddy! If I wanted to drive on the highway, I'd get in my car.
My car broke down on the freeway. It broke down.
The worst part with the Grand Prix, I feel, is that you don't get time to actually learn or appreciate the actual track that's part of the cup, as 2/3 of the race is not even there. It's bizarre. I feel like this could be fixed so easily by just upping the amount of laps required to clear the course. From 1 to 3, or hell, just give us 2 laps at minimum. I've also seen people talk about a quote-unquote classic mode for the Grand Prix, which would hypothetically do exactly what it says on the tin and just give you those 3-lap races that everyone wants. Yeah, you could go into Versus Race and manually do it yourself, but we're Nintendo fans, man. Unless we're spoon-fed stuff, we don't want it.
Please, I'm so hungry.
On the topic of Versus Race, what is this selection screen? What happened to just selecting the course you wanted from a menu? Like, don't get me wrong, it's cute and all, but if I wanted to go out and play every track in a cup, unless I've memorized it, I'm gonna have to pull up Google or something to work out the proper order. But I'll be honest, most of my offline playtime is spent in Versus Race. It was the same in 8, where I would want to play a few specific tracks, so I'd jump into it, zip around them, and be done with it. The map screen is a pretty nice, almost diegetic way of selecting the courses to race on, but I mean, it's the same as my issues with Grand Prix. Would an option for a list be too much to ask for? Is providing the player with more choice an inherently bad thing? Or are we only permitted to have fun the way Nintendo wants us to? Don't get me wrong though, the 30 tracks that are here are all really nice and feel like some of the best in the series from a pure gameplay standpoint. I'm not about to compare it to Mario Kart 8's track list, as that game had 11 years plus DLC plus the booster course pass, so looking at World on its own in a kind of vacuum, it's really solid, yeah. It feels a little strange that there's only 30 though, rather than the usual number of 32. It means that it doesn't divide nicely into 8 cups of 4 tracks, meaning that 2 of them, Crown City and Peach Stadium, show up in 2 different Grand Prix cups. They have altered layouts when they're repeated, but from an outsider's perspective, it seems like an odd omission. One more thing on the races, playing them online is pretty good. This entry increased the number of participants in any given race from 12 to 24, which is a double-edged sword, and I'll come back to it in a bit, but it does make for a lot of fun online when you get full lobbies at times. The issue is, routes between courses can show up in the track selection, and because there's hundreds of them, they show up pretty often when the game presents you with a choice of 3 courses to race on. There used to be a way to force your vote to be a 3-lap course by selecting random, which a large majority of people would chill with, but then Nintendo caught wind and quote-unquote fixed that with an update. So, thanks guys. You will play the game exactly as Nintendo wants and you will have fun! Now, let me just repeat myself and be abundantly clear about one thing. I don't hate Nintendo or this game. Far from it. A super easy win on the game's behalf is the soundtrack. The OST is phenomenal. There's so much. The course music, the jukebox tracks that play on routes and other modes, and it's insane how good it is. The reason I'm being harsh here is because I love Mario Kart, and all of these complaints are things that I feel could easily be fixed with giving players more choice to engage with the game in the way they want. These aren't drastic design changes. They don't inherently break the game or transform it into something it's not. All of these problems, the routes being shoved in your face, the 1 lap on a Grand Prix, the lack of an easily accessible menu in Versus Race, even the 12 versus 24 player debate, could all be fixed through small tweaks to options. But hey, here's hoping that if you're watching this video sometime after it's dropped, Nintendo's listened to feedback and patched the game, and everyone's happy. I gotta give credit where credit is due though. The mode where all of these kinda odd design decisions shine is one of Mario Kart World's strongest offerings. Ladies, gentlemen, theys and thems, allow me to present for your consideration, Knockout Tour. Baby, let me tell you about Knockout Tour. Nintendo must have hid all the secret sauce and stashed it in there, cause man is it good. The basic premise is it's a long-form elimination rally with no loading screens across 6 courses, 5 segments of the open road, and 1 final lap around a track at the end of the tour. 24 racers line up at the starting grid and all compete in one long endurance test, basically. At the end of each segment, the 4 lowest placing racers are knocked out from the race, and the pressure builds. The top 20 becomes the top 16, the top 12, 8, 4, and then you go for first. Oh man! The energy and buzz you get playing Knockout Tour is intense when you play it online. Playing with CPUs offline is fine, but the mode truly shines when it's you and 23 other real people all gunning for that coveted first place result. I can't really put into words just how electric the whole thing feels. All of those weird design choices really shine here. The routes are honestly a perfect fit for this mode. With it being a big tour across the map, it makes way more sense for you to drive between all the courses rather than around them. That 1 lap around the final course feels so tense and honestly earned. Rather than the Grand Prix where it feels weird and tacked on. The 24 players, while chaotic in every mode, are one of the primary reasons this mode is so captivating. It's like, it's so strange. In regular races, it's honestly too much. It's overwhelming. If you're front running, you're getting pelted with blue shells constantly. If you're at the back, it's tough to catch up. And if you're in the middle of the pack, God help you. Items are flung left, right, and center, and honestly, in every other mode, it detracts from the experience, but in Knockout Tour, it's the complete 180-degree opposite. The chaos of getting hit and falling out of the qualifying ranks, and the subsequent feeling of slamming the gas to try and catch back up. Oh, there's nothing like it. It's incredible. Knockout Tour is very clearly the mode that this game was designed around, which is great. It's okay to do that. But my question is, why does it feel like the other modes suffer because of it? I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep bashing it, but no, think about it for a second. Grand Prix in this game is pretty much just Knockout Tour without the eliminations. The routes don't make sense as courses to drive on in isolation in Versus Race or online. It's just, it's so bizarre, man, that they have this crazy winning formula for a game mode, and instead of using that as its own thing and implementing it alongside their other winning formulas, they artificially kneecap the other modes for some kind of sense of cohesion? I don't know. But James, I hear you cry, or maybe you don't, but pretend you do. There's one more mode you've forgotten about! Ah, dear viewer, that's where you're wrong! Another one of the bigger complaints about Mario Kart World involves a little mode by the name of Free Roam. The biggest complaint is that it feels like an afterthought, and that is why I waited until now to bring it up. It drives the point home. Come on, drives the point home? That's funny! Yeah, that's right! Honestly, with a game that has such a large interconnected world, it'd be a huge missed opportunity not to have an option to drive around it aimlessly, free from the confines of a race, and that's exactly what Free Roam in Mario Kart World is. On the main menu, pressing the plus button brings you seamlessly into Free Roam, where you're free to roam. I don't know, man, it does what it says on the tin. Now, as a white guy with brown hair and glasses...
Is that all I am to myself?
I'm sure to have some issues with it, right? Well, kinda. My first impressions of the Free Roam in Mario Kart World was that it felt empty and tacked on, and that is still kinda true, but hear me out. On the surface, yeah, there's no real objective to complete in Free Roam other than these P-switch missions you can find around the place. They give you small, bite-sized challenges to complete that reward you with a sticker you can place on your vehicle. The stickers, similar to the challenges, are also bite-sized, and sometimes you can't really see them, so that sucks. There's also question mark panels and peach medallions scattered around, which also reward you with stickers, but they're kinda supplementary. You can stop at various Yoshi's establishments to pick up dash food, which changes your outfit, and just quickly, it's been said 1,000 times by pretty much everyone but Nintendo, we do not need each alternate outfit to be a separate character slot on the menu, okay? Also, while I'm on that point, the bonus characters you can unlock by someone using a Kamek item on you are really neat. I'm a Koopa Troopa main through and through, so it doesn't really change too much about how I engage with the game, and I think the randomized element kind of sucks, but the fact we have it at all is cool, damn it! Even though the Free Roam feels like an afterthought at first, the fact that it's there is great. I think in its current state, it would have been better as a bonus reward. Like, if you cleared all the cups of the Grand Prix and rolled credits and then got the option to roam around, I think it'd land a lot better, but what do I know?
What do I know?
Additionally, outside of this game, there were two other big kart races that dropped in 2025, those being Sonic Racing Cross Worlds and Kirby Air Riders. I picked both of them up, and Kirby Air Riders doesn't really click with me too much, but Sonic Racing Cross Worlds sank its claws into me for quite some time. I love that game, and while I prefer its racing and gameplay to Mario Kart World, it doesn't feel quite as polished and doesn't give me the feeling that it's a full package like World does. Perhaps due to the fact that it's got DLC and the fact that those DLC characters aren't voiced? I don't know, I'm getting off topic. I'm not here to bash one in favor of the other. They can coexist. They serve different niches, and while Crossworlds feels like that true iteration and spiritual successor to Mario Kart 8 that I was really hoping for, Mario Kart World is doing its own thing. It has its own identity. It's not trying to be something that came before it. It's trying something new. And the Free Roam mode, in my opinion, kind of proves that.
Huh?
I think initially, because I went into this game expecting something along the lines of Forza Horizon, which has similar little mini challenges, but also events and other things you can find in the open world, I was disappointed. Much like many a Nintendo fan before me, my own hubris set me up for failure. Would a story mode help the Free Roam land? Sure. Would the open world work better as a hub between Grand Prix races or knockout tours? Sure. Are the Grand Prix Cups unnecessarily stuffed with routes over full races? Yep. Is it weird that we're railroaded into only having fun the way Nintendo wants us to? Absolutely. But after taking some time away from the game and going back to it with a fresh perspective, especially after the other kart races dropped in 2025, I found that it was really easy to just get lost in the world and the game and appreciate all the little details. I've got so much footage of me just messing around in Free Roam, kinda aimlessly, enjoying the open road at my own pace. There are so many small details in here that it's crazy. Like here, for example, I followed this shy guy for a while, hoping to see him do something strange when I saw him park up at a Yoshi's restaurant, get out of the car, grab some dash food, and go on a stroll. It was so weird, man. But it's just one tiny example of how much surprising depth this world actually has. Is it necessary? No, not at all. Would you miss it if you were doing literally anything else? Yeah, of course, but the fact it's there if you go looking for it is really cool. Maybe I'm just intrinsically motivated by weird little quirks like that, harkening back to my younger days and making my own stories and adventures. I would have loved something like this back in the day, and I think, maybe, That's the point. Maybe that's the main appeal of the free roam. It's a love letter to the dreamers, to the inner child that we all have within us. It's different, yeah. It's uncomfortable, sure, but that's okay. To call back to the Grand Prix for a sec, the routes are pretty hard to get used to, yeah, but there's a pretty neat bit of progression here that I haven't seen in a Mario Kart game before. When you clear all the cups of the Grand Prix, you get a cutscene of the various cups all appearing and combining into the special cup, which was previously unseen and not even on the menu. One more cup. I've got my issues with the Grand Prix system, but the special cup is different. If you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about. I mentioned earlier that there were some exceptions to the routes feeling bland and uninspired, and this cup houses the shining example of that. See, after the third race at Peach Stadium, you all gather and head out towards the ocean. As the bridge rises and a strange light emerges from the heavens, you scramble to get there as you think about how you got to this point. At almost every moment, at almost every opportunity, this game has gone out of its way to rain on your parade, to stop you in your tracks. The routes were weird, the 24 players were chaotic, the free roam was bland, but something kept you pushing forward. And, well, wouldn't you know it, after the rain comes a rainbow. Complain all you want about Mario Kart World, you cannot deny that it has an absolutely incredible Rainbow Road. I mean, it's my favorite in the whole series. It's so good. Let me gush about it for a little, okay? Rainbow Road in Mario Kart World is truly, genuinely spectacular. I don't know what the designers were doing, but I was so taken aback by how beautiful it is. And it's a great track too. It's so much fun to race around on. The soundtrack is just perfect, and it really does feel like a celebration of how far you've come. As a segment track rather than a lap-based track, it uses it to its advantage and harkens back to multiple Rainbow Roads from over the years. There's a grand, mystical Rainbow Road, a gorgeous lake that hovers over the cosmos, a space station that feels like it mixes aesthetics of Mario Kart 8 with the original blocky Rainbow Road from the Super Nintendo, and one final segment where all of the friends you've made along the way cheer you on aboard a cosmic train as you are propelled to the finish. It's a victory lap. It's a celebration. I could go on for hours about how much I love this Rainbow Road. Mario Kart World isn't perfect by any means, but this is nice. It feels like a look back for the series as much as it feels like it's a breath of fresh air. Looking forwards, looking towards the future. Look, maybe it's just a video game, a product, and it's not that deep, and I'm looking for meaning where there isn't any. But maybe, like a lot of things, it's not as black and white as that. It's a little more subjective. It's so easy to trash on this game. It's not without fault. It's not perfect. I've got my issues with it, yeah, but I want to love this game. I really do. But I'm in two minds about it, and I think I always will be. Mario Kart World is not a bad game. Far from it. The potential is there. It is just out of reach. Change is hard. Growth is uncomfortable. You're not gonna get it right every time. But with Mario Kart World, I really do think... Wait, you're telling me that outside of that launch bundle, this game costs $80? Nah, pack it up. I take it back. That's ridiculous!